welcome. It's so good to see all of you here. I see so many familiar faces, and it's great. I'm Josie. I thought that was Brandon. I was like, where's he going? Come back. This is Brandon, and we're going to be emceeing tonight. So you'll see us up here. You'll see us around, kind of in the back. We're also helping keep track of time because we know how important that is. So anyway, welcome. We're really glad that you're here. We have just been living in such a crazy, isolating, hard time. At least for me, it's felt very isolating. And so for me to be here with you in community and just see these familiar faces and be in this room together, I actually feel kind of emotional and overwhelmed a little bit just seeing you all here. I haven't really been in a group setting like this. So thank you for coming out tonight and taking the time just to come hear about Liminal and hearing about some opportunities coming up, our vision. We're really glad to see you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'll echo what Josie said, and just thanks for being here tonight. Our purpose for tonight was just to get together, sing a couple of worship songs. Chris, Shari, and Joshua are going to come up here in a few minutes and just tell you a little bit about what's going on with Liminal, some dreams, some plans, some visions, just to kind of share that with all of you in this room, people that love and have been exposed to some of this work. And so, like Josie said, we're going to try to keep everyone on track and try to be respectful of everyone's time. And so you might see us waving our hands or interjecting some questions so we can move on. We're going to try to cover as much material as we can tonight, but we know we've been hearing that there's a ton of questions out there and people have curiosity. And so on your card, there's our website. The website's listed up there too. If we don't answer your question or if you have other questions, you can email us or submit any of your questions on our website, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So in a minute here, we're going to get started, but before we start, I'm going to go ahead and pray. Hey, God, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for the people in this room. Thank you so much for this work. God, in the midst of a crazy world, every single person in this room is experiencing life differently than they have before, and differently probably than the person sitting next to them. But I pray that you bless our night, bless everyone in this room. Please keep us safe, and thank you so much for just the opportunity to gather in a room and get to sing, worship you, and learn more about this awesome work that we have. Help us not to take it for granted. We love you so much. In your name we pray. Amen. So Joshua, Chris, Shari, if you can come up, and you guys will see us in a few minutes, or at least later tonight. Thanks for being here.
Steal my seat.
Yeah.
Musical chairs. Oh, okay. Yes. The rose amongst the thorns. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. I worked a long time on that one. All right, so welcome. Thanks for coming. It's good to see all of you. Some I know, some I don't know, but it's really good to be in a room and to get to be together again. We want to share a little bit. We want to start off with talking a little bit about the Liminal organization. For some of you, maybe you don't know much. For others of you, maybe you've been around a little bit. So we just want to kind of give an intro, recap into the Liminal organization. So figure you might as well start with the name. A lot of people say, so what does liminal mean, or why did you call this thing liminal? So really, liminal refers to a space, specifically referring to threshold space. So when you think about when you're leaving a room, you have to cross a threshold to get to the next room. And so when you leave somewhere to get to someplace new, you have to cross over something. That's liminal space. So when you think about that as a person on a personal journey, when we talk about liminal space, it's that time when you are leaving, changing, letting go of perhaps a way of being, maybe beliefs you've held on to, and you're ready to step into some place new that really you don't know yet. And it's in that liminal space is when you're leaving one, but before you get to where you know you're going, you've got to be in this liminal space, which can feel risky and scary and kind of vulnerable because we can't control it. because we don't know what's coming. But it places us in this really unique place where we're open to where a lot of really good things can happen. And so we create liminal space through our weekends, through our group work, through the trainings that we run. Just even in preparation for tonight, I was doing some reading on liminal, and Richard Rohr talks a lot about liminal space, and he said that right now, COVID is liminal space, because we've left a way of being that we're not going to get to go back to. We don't know what it's going to be like, and we're kind of sitting in this scary, risky, vulnerable place of not knowing what's coming. So COVID is kind of liminal space. Maybe that's a positive spin. I don't know. What do you need to let go of before you head into what's new? So what Liminal does is we partner with churches to bring those kind of transformational experiences. If you think about Jesus when he taught in two different ways. One was when he would sit people in front of him and he would do teaching and instruction and he would, help them learn new things. That was one way that he taught. But another way that he taught people was through giving them an experience, almost like an ordeal. So if you think, I think always about the story of Peter, when Jesus walks out, and they're on the boat and they're, freaking out, but Jesus is out even in a freakier place. But he says to Peter, come out of the boat and come with me. And he's basically giving Peter an experience of leaving what was safe, what was known, to step out into a new way that was probably like an ordeal for Peter to think about doing that, but it was a chance for him to change and to grow. And so churches are really good at that teaching place, one, of giving instruction, of teaching, of educating, not so good at giving people experiences. And that's where we as an organization come in, to come alongside churches, to partner with them, to actually work through them, to give people a place where they can experience that kind of transformation, such that they don't have to leave their church to get it. They can actually do it through their church. We partner with them to help give them that kind of transformation.
So hello from thorn number 1. That's me. Hey, it's good to see everybody. Thank you all for being here. I want to tell you all a little bit about, so what Shari was talking about is doing this work inside churches. That's really part of the heart of what Liminal is meant to be. Most of you, especially the men in the room, because it's the only way to get involved with this work up till this point, are here because you've experienced weekends. So I do want to let you know that weekends are starting up again. It was hard for us to have to cancel everything. We all know it's been a difficult year. To cancel everything through the end of this year, but in January we're reopening. We've had a team that's been working on how to do this within guidelines, how best. We've had some doctors involved with this also. They're going to be helping out with this. We're actually going to be having people testing before showing up for staffing, before showing up for weekends, just to make sure that everything is as safe as possible so we can reopen weekends. Again, starting everything next year is back up at Camp Como. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited that Judd is here and he's going to be a part of that also. I'm excited about that. I might be one of the only people on the stage that's excited about that.
I'm really excited about that. I didn't even know that was Judd.
So weekends are starting up again. Everything is on the website. We'd appreciate it if you were starting to ask people to, recruit, get people onto weekends again. That's all opening up again. But what I want everyone to understand, and one of the things we want to talk about tonight, is that doing weekends is not really the heart of what Liminal is about. Weekends are wonderful. Weekends are transformational. But group work is really where we've seen the most growth in people going on and doing this work. And part of the spark of starting something new was really around the idea of being able to start groups inside of churches, where people's identity is still with their church and with their group inside of their church, and be able to start on a journey there, knowing that going into that kind of deeper dive that you've experienced on weekends, it's not necessarily the right way for everyone to jump into this. But being able to get into a group and find that same kind of safety to start building that authenticity and that community inside their church with other people, and then knowing once they've started that, once they've started going on that journey, then maybe a weekend is going to be a next step for them. So one person from that group may decide to go off and experience a weekend, and then when they're done with that, they're going to come right back to their group to continue that going, probably telling everyone else they need to go on that weekend, but we'll see how that works out when we get there. So what we've been working on over the last year is developing a 24-week curriculum, one for men, one for women, all based on the same kind of experiential tools that most of you have experienced. Also, people can get in and start to build their community inside their church. Again, that is their identity. It's not that they're doing a liminal group, but they're going to be following a liminal curriculum inside their church. And so they can start to build that kind of authentic community with other people in their church and build all that up. So again, it's going to be doing this group work, being able to go off, then do weekends, be able to come right back to their group. And once we get through that 24-week curriculum, the other thing that we've been working on with Liminal is starting to develop partnerships with other people that we trust or other organizations that we trust, that we know the kind of work that they're doing, where they can be bringing that kind of content into this also. So we'll be partnering with them for other possible next steps for that work. We always want someone to have that possible next step once they've gotten to a point where they're thinking, I've just experienced this about myself. I want to go one step further around my spirituality. Great, we have some spiritual directors that we're hooked up with that we want to connect you with. Physically, I want to do something. I realize that I've been really lazy and I want to work. Great, we have some people that we're going to connect you with that we know that don't just do physical work, but they're going to coach you also. Or if we want further curriculum, we have some partners in that also. So this is a partnering organization where there's always going to be the answer to that question, what is the next step for me to get the kind of growth that I want in my life?
Mm-hmm. So to do all this has been a bit of a journey, and certainly been accelerated here with COVID as well, and delayed in many ways. But I want to go back and kind of set the stage for kind of this 3-stage mission that we've been pursuing. So in 2018, many of you know that we started the Liminal organization, and we started doing weekends. And several of you have been on a weekend or staffed a weekend. And that was really 2018 was about getting our core organization set up. And by the way, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Joshua Larrabee. I'm kind of like the business partner of this group up here. So I'm helping bring some business structure to this and hopefully get it to where we can grow it. So 2018 into 2019 was about setting up our core business. So weekends, all of that, starting the process of working on curriculum. Stage 2 of our mission was to get our nonprofit status. I'm proud to say April of this year, it takes a long time to get nonprofit status. I don't know if any of you have done that before, but a lot longer than I thought. So we got our nonprofit status in April of this year. So that was stage 2, and we thought that was important. And for one primary reason, we heard Chris talk about partnerships. So the nonprofit organization that we've created is going to be the organization that really fulfills this mission, ultimately this bigger mission we're going to talk about in a second, which is giving back to communities and people that really need this work but don't necessarily have the financial means to access it, or maybe to churches that aren't Flatirons, right? That need this work but can't access it. So this nonprofit organization we've created is meant to coordinate all of this and bring together partners, bring together content partners, people that are trained in this work, bring them all together to help serve the community, to serve churches and to serve people, all people, but certainly people that maybe can't financially reach some of this work. So nonprofit status was achieved this April. Now we're moving into kind of the 3rd stage of our mission, and that is going to be really around accelerating this. We talked about group work. We talked about this whole idea of what's my next step. So we have all the pieces in place. We got to bring it together now. That's where we're at in this. And so we're going to talk more about that. But that's really the journey that we've been on, is to enable this what's my next step, bring it to people that maybe have never heard of it or can't maybe financially reach it. And we have all the pieces in place. We're going to tell you a little bit more about kind of what those next steps look like here in a second. So that's where we're at today.
Yeah, so would you guys take some time to tell us a little bit about what next steps look like?
So the immediate next steps, the first thing, the major priority in this is the curriculum that I was talking about is getting that finished and available for people to use. The whole curriculum is outlined. It's about halfway finished being written. So we just need to be able to finish that, but then also be able to get it in the hands of editors, be able to get really get it packaged well, so that it's able to be sent out to other people. So finishing that curriculum is really the first thing, and it's the first priority, so that we can get this rolling and get it into people's hands and get them using it.
And then what we also want to do in connection with the curriculum is we want to be able to, like Chris was saying, get this into as many hands as we can, into churches, into even maybe individuals who want to run a group, so that they can have this curriculum accessible to them. One of the things that I don't know has been mentioned yet, but we're also developing an app so that people can actually download all the curriculum, as well as find out about weekends and sign up for staffing, all in this app that we're in development with. Josh is the brains behind that one, so he can speak to that more. But the idea would be is we want it to be that somebody who's maybe never gone through the group work before could get this curriculum and take people through it. If you've lived inside a group, you've experienced that it needs a facilitator, someone who's trained to take people through that. So we're right now in the process of figuring out how do we overcome that barrier for people so that they can get into the group content and right away without waiting for someone to train them. There might be some churches that will want to employ us as trainers, but there might just be people who just want to get the curriculum and go. So what we'd like to do, as well as finishing and producing curriculum, we also want to create videos to go with that, so that in there, and I just want you to know, I'm going to confess that I wrote it out here for my team, I called it videotaping. And I was told that reflects how old I am, that it's video recording, that no one talks about taping anymore. So that's just showing my age here, people. But anyway, we want to do video recordings so that we can help with some of that heavy lifting of some of those teaching pieces, and so that someone doesn't have the burden of trying to figure that out. We're going to have the videos available. So, and we're also, as we're doing that video, we want to get a lot of teachers, because we don't want anyone to have to look at Chris Mosier for 24 weeks or at me for 24 weeks. We're looking at getting a whole bunch of different leaders to bring in their teaching style and their expertise, so that the people who use this app or use our curriculum have a wide variety of teachers. But we need to get all of that on video. And then we're also going to be doing videos to actually help the facilitators, so that kind of behind the scenes, how do you prep for a group this week? And then we're also wanting to also create audio, because audio podcasts are so popular now that if someone's in the group, perhaps we're teaching on emotions and we're going to have an audio version to go along with that group content, where someone can just download and listen to it, so that maybe when they're driving to work in the morning, they can get a little more educated just by listening to audio. So that's one of our next steps, is to actually create the video and the audio to go along with the curriculum.
So I have a question, which is just show of hands. How many, has everybody in, or who all has gone through a weekend in here? Okay, and who all has been in a group in here? Okay, and who has never done anything with this work? Cool. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So many of you know, or if you don't, you're about to, many of you know that your entry point into this may have been a weekend experience, one of these retreats that you all know about, and they're very eye-opening and impactful. And if you're like me, I came back from my weekend and wanted more. And so I, kind of got into a group, sort of. There wasn't a lot of options. I'm in a different group, and then in my different group, I was like, gosh, it would be great to have some of this work in my group that wasn't, part of this over here. And where I've experienced my growth is in my group, so I want to be a part of that. I want this work to be a part of that. That's my life. These are my people. And also, I found through kind of the grapevine another weekend experience to go to, because once you've done it, you want more, and I want more, right? I'll make it an I statement, right? I want more of this work, and so I flew to Oregon to do a weekend, right? It shouldn't be that difficult. And so what we are going to do to serve you, the community, better is, Shari was talking about it a bit, but our plans for this year, for 2021, is to build an experience. I'm going to talk a bit more about this in a second, but to build an experience where I can always get an answer to my question of what's my next step with this work. And ideally, as a part of a group, what's our next step, right? What can we do together as a group? And so to do that, to paint the picture of that, is that there's bringing together great content providers. Think, like we talked about, maybe I'm in a group and maybe we're studying on shame and really that stirs up something in me. Maybe I then can do a weekend experience that focuses on shame. Maybe I can dig into more content, more advanced content that's just focused on shame and getting that stupid voice out of my head that tells me I'm not good enough, How do I do that? How do I connect that dot? How do I go participate in that? Where do I find that, right? We want to answer that question. And the only way we can do that is through bringing together a lot of different partners to do this, because we can't do it all. Chris and Shari are good, but they're not that good, right? They can't answer all of those questions, right? And so we realized this when we were really studying this, trying to figure out how do we fill these gaps in people's experience with this work. And we realized it when we came to the conclusion that this is not a one organization mission. It's a multiple organization mission. And the only way that this is ever going to work is if we can bring all that together in one place so we can find it. Otherwise, it's just kind of piecemeal and it's good luck, with your next step, kind of thing. So that's really the heart behind why we're even introducing this technology into this, is because it's an efficient way of helping people connect the dots of what's my next step. And ideally, it's a way that you can do it together. We all know kind of through the grapevine that I am going to, I'm going to go staff a weekend, you should too, kind of thing. But it would be great if I knew some of my people that I've gone through some crazy experiences with are doing a weekend maybe that I never would have thought of doing, but now I might, because if they're going, then I'm in, right? And if I can do it with my group, then I'm in. That's what we're trying to do with this technology, is connect those dots for each other and do it in a safe and secure way. There's just so much more to be had from this work, and we want to help facilitate that. That's what this is all about. It's all about connecting the dots for the community around this. And so 2021, we have a lot of work to do, but we already have a start. I have an app in my pocket that's not quite ready to go, but not too far from ready to go. We need to fill it with content. We need to continue to grow and put partnerships into it, and also expand our website and bring kind of all this stuff together. So 2021 is really going to be about enabling, and that's, like I said, our third step of our kind of mission, our vision, but I wanted to paint a picture of why we're doing that.
Yeah, so as we move toward 2021 and into 2021, what are some of the specific needs of Liminal?
So 2021, let's talk about, let's see, what is it, October? Is it March? Wait, no. So earlier this month, we sat down and we really worked through what's our 3-year plan, basically. I'm so excited about our 3-year plan. Let me just kind of wrap it up in a nutshell. So we have, in a 3-year plan, we are going to go from where we're at today to spinning up this content and these partnerships and this app and starting to extend this out, partnering with the church. We have some great partnerships that we're working on right now, Flatirons being one of them. We have a handful of other churches that we're working with. And we have a 3-year budget, basically, that I'm excited to say gets us to, by the end of year 3, where we're actually, every donation dollar that we get into our organization, we turn right back around and give to startup capital for communities that want to get involved with this, and individuals that want to access this work that maybe can't afford to do so. And so what that looks like is year 1, our budget's going to go a lot towards content. It's going to go a lot towards investing in these technologies. Year 2, that scales down a little bit. Our giving goes up, and we continue to invest in really content partnerships at that point, bringing in a gentleman that we know has some really great work around father wounding for those of us that have father wounding, right? Those are the types of things that we want to bring in, again, to continue that, advancing that next step. And then the 3rd year of that is where we really grow, and that's where we really grow our partnerships and bringing this into a lot of different churches. And I don't know that it was 100% touched on before, but when we talk about partnering with churches, what that means is bringing this technology that I'm talking about, but more so the training and the curriculum, into the church, and actually training the church how to do this so that they're not necessarily dependent on us. We give them the stuff to do it, but they can actually do this. Like, that's our intent with this. And it's a multi-step process. As you know, it has to be safely done, and it will be. But what we're doing is infusing this into the church, to get back to the point Shari made, which is Jesus taught in those 2 ways. And we think one of them, there's just a lot to be had for the experiential piece of the work inside the church. And I think most churches would agree. Actually, they do agree with us. So that's really our mission. And so what we're doing in 2021 in this 3-year budget, 22 and 23, is going to be infusing this into the church and enabling the church. I've been told not to use that word. Empowering the church to do this work. So
You're done?
I'm done.
You didn't do the peak thing.
I didn't do the peak thing.
You need to tell them about the peak.
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 All right. So here's what PEAK is about. It's an acronym mostly for you guys to remember. PEAK. Okay, so here's the 4 things that we're going to talk to you about donations in a little bit. But if you decide you want to give to us, this is the 4 areas that your dollars are going to go to. So PEAK. P, partnership. It's all about building partnership with churches, other organizations, like I said. E is experience. I've been talking about it with the app. One thing is that we want to enable people that want to do this work. Basically, it might be more than 1 click, but just for simplicity's sake, with 1 click, it's like, yes, I want to do that, right? That's what we're building. So experience. We want it to be a fluid experience. What's my next step? So we're building that. Assistance is the 3rd, the A in PEAK. So the heart of our mission has always been to give people the ability, like I said, that can't access this, the ability to do so. And I'm just so proud of the budget that we put together and the way that if we hit all of our targets, that this thing plays out. Literally in year 4, 100% of our donations that we get go back into the community, which is just the coolest freaking thing, I feel like. It's just, I'm really proud of. I have it right here if anybody wants to look at it. The K is kingdom. At the end of the day, and I'm super passionate about this all was born out of this idea of how do we, as Jim talks about it, one of the legs of the stool here at Flatirons is spiritual formation. And at the end of the day, if this work doesn't point somebody and get somebody back to their relationship with God and looking at that relationship and saying, what would you have for me? Who did you make me to be? And how did I get so far off course from that? This is what this work does, is it helps people understand who God created them to be, and it creates a freedom where you can actually live from that place. It gets myself out of my own way so that I can actually experience and believe what God says, who God says I am. And so kingdom is the K in it. And at the end of the day, if we don't hit that, then we're off mission and we're in left field, right? So that's the last thing. Partnering with churches is going to be a hugely important thing to that, and empowering the church to do this work is a big piece of that. So PEAK, partnership, experience, assistance, and kingdom.
There will be a quiz, and you won't be allowed to leave until you tell us
Peak.
what PEAK stands for. Now, thanks again for coming out tonight, because one of the things we want to do that we're really excited about is partnering with everybody that's here in this room and for those who couldn't participate, because either you're interested in the work or you've been impacted in the work. And so we're excited about being able to raise up leaders, to raise up people of influence. And one of our visions is like maybe there's a local church nearby and we can tap some of you to go help lead and grow them, so that we just keep multiplying, so that we can find places where you can take your gifts and your wants and your desires to serve in this type of work, like find places for you as well. So we feel like 2021, if we can just kind of round the COVID corner, is going to have some really great things. And if not, we are learning how to do work with masks on. So we're excited about what's to come.
Awesome. Thanks for that information. So yeah, one of the things that they touched on is with all the things in the works and all the things to try and build, especially over the next few months, we're really looking as an organization to find people that are able to partner with us financially. And so if you go to our website, which is on the screen, you can take a picture of that, or all of you should have gotten a card when you walk in. If that's something that you're interested in, again, you can go to that website, and there's a link that you can click that says donate, and you can you can donate, and that's all tax deductible, and you get all that information. As year-end approaches, there's other information on there. I don't remember who said, Shari or Chris said, we're keeping our website up to date with just how weekends are scheduled, and as you know, we're all in this phase of changing and adapting as things go on, so keep your eye on our website for the changes that are happening there. And then Josie, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you the website. Check it. We actually have weekends up. There's a men's weekend available in January and a women's in February. And we actually need staff and people to sign up for those weekends. So make sure to go and look at those. Obviously, it will most likely look different next year. So we're planning on, having smaller weekends, putting some protocols in place to keep it safe. So we won't have as many spaces for you to staff and participate, so get signed up as soon as you can if you see that works for you. And we just want to thank you for being here again. Thanks for being part of this community and just for being here to hear more about it.
Yeah, and again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to send us an email. If there's other opportunities that you have or things that you feel like that you can help us with growing this, please send us an email and we'll get back to you as soon as we can with that. I know, at least for me, the time flew by tonight. We tried to cover a ton of information, so if you have follow-up questions, Josh has more information on what the budget looks like. The card that you got, if you want to fill that out, whether if you want to be added to our mailing list or if you'd like some more information, check some of those boxes and leave them on the table right there at the door when you leave. Otherwise, Tommy and Lauren are going to come out and